Hello Malaysians, my name is Professor Dr. Muhammad Tajuddin Muhammad Rasdi, and in today's video I would like to make a comment on the new Madani Training Module which has just been introduced by the Prime Minister in order to educate Malaysians, as particularly the youth. Now in today's video I would make a short comment on what the Prime Minister has said, and then I would go on in making comments about 4 aspects which I like to see in this training module. First of all, let me read what the Prime Minister said, or what the news have mentioned. The Malaysian Madani Nationhood Training Module introduced today allows youth to learn about the country's history and appreciate the contributions of past leaders and warriors, said Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. He said the module is based on the Federal Constitution and moves with the times, especially in the digitalization. In this module, we must be steadfast in learning about our country's history and that our nation is independent and sovereign because of the contributions of all parties. Now, in this short statement, the Prime Minister has correctly and rightfully said about the contribution of all parties. This includes all political parties, I assume, and I would say that this also includes all the races and all the faiths in this country. There is a narrative that Malaysia has been spearheaded or formulated only by one particular party, political party or race or faith, and in this statement I believe it is quite the same as what I have been writing and speaking about, that all of us contribute to this nation, and this is the only way that we have to see the nation, or else we will be having conflict about who does what and who's not doing anything. As we continue, we appreciate the contributions of past leaders and independence fighters from all states in Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak for their services. But appreciating past contributions does not necessarily bind us to the past, draw strength from them, but dynamically improve and raise the dignity of the nation, he said. Now, this is a particularly important statement to me because this is what history is supposed to be. It is not supposed to be that we freeze history of its interpretation and then use it for ever and ever and ever like a particular political party. He said that we appreciate the contribution of past leaders, but we need not necessarily bind ourselves with the past, and this is correct. This is what I have been speaking also, that we must understand the different narratives of history, but we should never allow us to be bound by the past. Now, we must learn from it, but we must then dynamically improve ourselves and lead into a new future. So this is what I think the Prime Minister has said, and I would agree with him on that. So here Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has mentioned about in this tradition of training and module, it should be challenging and stimulating so that we raised or we are based on the values of good and evil, righteousness and wrongdoing, as well as rights and falsehood. So this is the spiritual aspect of what is right, what is wrong, what is the universal principles of goodness, and I think this is a critical aspect about how to build the values, not just looking at history, but also understanding philosophy of good values. Finally, the Malaysian National Academy, in a statement, said that the new module is based on national history, on understanding the Federal Constitution and the appreciation of Rukun Negara, which is something which I will be commenting on. How do I look at the nation's history? How do I look at the Rukun Negara? How do I look at the Federal Constitution in relation to how we rebuild Malaysia? So with that comment, I will now proceed to actually talk about what I mean when I said that what is it that I would like to see in this training module, because there is no curriculum or syllabus that has been presented, and I would like to actually propose or suggest some issues that need to be dealt with, or to be discussed. Now, first of all, about the nation's history. I've always said many times that the nation's history is something of a narrative that must give the idea that all of us contribute, not just one particular party, and this is stated by the Prime Minister. All of us contributed. For instance, the Christian community contributed the missionary school, of which I went to, Sekolah Said Mak. Then the Chinese community also contributed to the vernacular school, of which I went to, Sekolah Menengah Jenis Kebangsaan Hua Lian. And we can also see that the Muslims have contributed the Mahat Tahfiz and the Sekolah Pondok long before the establishment of the missionary school, as well as the Chinese school. So all of us contributed. The next thing is that I like to see in the history that all of us struggled and actually fought to save the nation. Now, some people believe that only one race was doing that, while the others was just hanging around doing nothing and things like that, or reaping the benefit from it. We need to recount or remember what happened at Bukit Kepong, how the Malay policemen were killed by the communists, and they were the heroes and warriors of one particular race. But we should also remember the Kampong China, where the resettlement of many Chinese that caused a lot of hardship, that would be something which is important in order to starve the communists and prevent the nation from falling into the hands of communism. So again, all of us contributed, and all of us struggled, all of us had pains and sacrifices, death, as well as heroic efforts and things like that. So I think this is something that needs to be highlighted. The third thing that I would like to see in the national history is the appreciation of the past civilization of the Hindu, Buddhist kingdoms. We have the Langkasuka, the Sri Vijaya, the Chetiu, the Majapahit, the Kalanga, the Gelangi, so many. I think there were more than 20 of these kingdoms that arose many thousands of years ago. However, the story of Malaysia seems stuck with the idea of Malays being Muslim. And for me, even though I'm a Muslim, I think this is not a very good way of presenting who we are and who the Malays were in this particular case. So if we were to build a foundation that Malays were very metropolitan or very global outreaching, and this would create a larger picture of Malayness, and also give the sense of Malay being a global player rather than a small player of Muslim or Islam. And I think this is a very important aspect to build on. We should also remind in the history lesson that it was China, and under the Muslim Laksamana Cheng Ho, which protected Parameswara or the Kesultanan Melaka from the invasion of the Siamese. If not, all of us would be part of Thailand. And this is also something which bears remembering and understanding, so that we start off with the idea that it is not one particular race, it is not one particular religion that is something that is building on to our country. Next, we have the Constitution, the Federal Constitution. Now, the Federal Constitution is very important for us to learn, and it has been really sidelined in all of our historical lessons, whether in the school as well as in the universities, as far as I can make it out. We need to understand, first of all, that the Federal Constitution gives dignity to all of the citizens of the country. What is dignity? It is kemuliaan seseorang, which is the idea of marwah, as well as kemuliaan, mulia, meaning something that is good, something that is precious. This is what Siddiq Fazil says in his statement about kewarganegaraan, that we are bersaudara in terms of sama sebangsa as well as sama semanusia, and this is the humanity of us as well as the Malaysianness of us, as well as how our traditions and culture intertwine with each other, as we can see from the past experiences of our country's history. So this is the aspect that is the most important to be considered in the federal constitution, that it is a sacred document that defines the dignity of all of a citizen. Of course, in that document it says one particular race, Bumiputera, given some sort of privileges for a certain time in order to have some kind of better social engineering, but this does not negate the dignity of others, and this is something that needs to be drummed into the young, because some politicians are playing on the special rights of Article 153 and saying that this is forever and ever and ever and ever, and therefore the superiority and the ketuanan of one particular race must be assured, and this is something which I am totally in disagreement with. For me, ketuanan means ketuanan which is fair to all, which is compassionate to all, which is inclusive about all that we need to give in terms of being human. And if this is what is ketuanan mean, then of course I'm all for it. But if it's ketuanan based on birth, I don't think this is something which we should continue. The next thing about the constitution is that there is some now criticism among some political groups that is riding on religion, saying that the constitution should be changed to something of the Quran, or something that is similar to Iran, where you have a group of so-called ulama that sits besides the parliament and can veto any parliamentary decisions about laws and the making of laws in the country. Now, this is something that is against what the Perlembagaan is, but now it's being challenged, as I said, by some sort of idea that this is un-Islamic. I think the teachers of this module need to clarify and say that there are many consultations with religious scholars, especially with the Sultan or with the monarchy, who are supposed to be the head of all the religion, of all the of Islam as well of all the other religions, to be taken care of by them. And the constitution needs to be framed also within the construct of the values of all the religious faith, in order for it to be seen as not only something pragmatic, political, expedient, but it is also a product of very strong spiritual force. And this spirituality that cuts across all religion needs to be shown very clearly. Now, the third thing is about the Rukun Negara. The Rukun Negara has always been said to be something that binds us and defines what Malaysia is, and or what Malaysians are. And I would agree or half agree on that, because if you look at the principles of the Rukun Negara, the 5 principles that's always been touted, and which something that I memorized when I was a child, it is too authoritarian in its construct. And when Malaysia was a young nation, this is appropriate, because like a parent of young children, parents need to be authoritarian in order to make the children safe, in order to actually guard the children from the dangers of things outside the house and inside the house. But when the children grows up, the parents cannot be this authoritarian figure. It needs to be more of an advisor, or a consultant, or something that that will stand by them in times of need. And so that is where the preamble of the Rukun Negara is much more important than the 5 principles for me, because it speaks of the idea of being liberal. Liberal means the idea of interpreting tradition, as what Anwar Ibrahim has said, that we remember the past, honor the past, but we do not necessarily bind ourselves to the past. And that is one definition of being liberal. Same thing about religion. We can understand religion this way and that way, but we must understand in a liberal thought that religion is an interpretation, or whatever religion it is always an interpretation of somebody, of some institution. And that needs to be clarified in accordance with things that happen in a certain context, which requires further thinking rather than a dogmatic or a doctrinal approach. The preamble also mentioned progressive. Progressive here means thinking within the aspect of science. Well, science, rationalism, the idea of being rational, of looking at facts rather than sentiments of race, sentiments of religious extremism, sentiments of past political history that is narrowly interpreted, should not be something that is considered to be a progressive thinking. And these are the two aspects that has been mentioned, along with the idea of a democracy. What does democracy mean? It means all the citizens are the owners of the country, and that the civil servants are just the servant, and the elected representative are also the servants to the people, including the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the servant of the people, and the Chief Secretary of the civil servant is another servant to the people. That is democracy. And so this needs to be emphasized, because it seems that once elected, certain people think that they are God, or they are the emperor, or they are like the sultans, and this is something which we do not need. Now, fourthly and lastly, I would like to make a suggestion about its implementation, the implementation of the module of training. First of all, should comprise of 50% candidates of Bumiputera and 50% of candidates of non-Bumiputera. I don't think that the demography of 65% Bumiputera and the others are non-Bumiputera would be a good idea, simply because it still creates the idea of a supremacy construct. And during question and answer session, there will be quiet reception from one part, while there's a noisy reception from the other, by virtue of them being more in the majority. So I hope it's a 50-50 candidacy, as well as the teaching staff should also be of 50-50. Now, I trust all Malaysians, but I do believe that we need to be able to give a 50% Bumiputera trainers or facilitators or lecturers, and also 50% non-Bumiputera trainers or lecturers. Let us not repeat the problem of PLKN that I think has like 90% one particular race as trainers, lecturers, and what have you. This is a mistake. We cannot have that, and we should not have that. And I think this is something which I will be looking at with regards to the implementation of the module. Finally, I think in the implementation, the candidates as well as the facilitators must sleep together, must eat together, and go to the bathroom together, in the sense of being part of a large family. And they must have games of that shows that in order to work, then there must be this team spirit between all the races and all the faiths, in order for us to become successful. So with that, I would like to congratulate the Prime Minister for launching this module. I think it is high time that we rethink the module of kewarganegaraan, or the idea of being a citizen. What is the citizen of Malaysia, rather than the idea of patriotism. I don't like the word patriotism. I think it's about dignity of respecting our history of all cultures, dignity of admitting to the values of goodness, righteousness, as well as acceptance that is embodied in the Rukun Negara and the Federal Constitution. I think these are the values that is important, and the most important values of all. In order to be successful, all of us must be successful, or all of us will fail. This is something which need to be inculcated very, very strongly, that our fate and our future depend on all of us working together, or our failure will be the result of us mistrusting each other and not working with one another because of that mistrust. With that, I'd like to thank you for listening in to my comments.